We are so excited to bring you an amazing Bible adventure. It's called the Tree of Life, God's promise of salvation. Together, we will take a journey through the Holy Bible. Along the way, we will look for places where we can clearly see God's plan to save us all through Jesus' death on the cross, the Tree of Life, God's promise of salvation. We'll be searching the Old Testament, where we are going to see God's saving plan right in the middle of the biggest Old Testament stories, times when God stepped in to save His people when they couldn't save themselves. We will visit the Garden of Eden, where we will watch Adam and Eve break God's command and fill our world with sadness. We'll also see how God stepped in and gave His first promise to send Jesus to deliver His people from the power of death and the devil. We will journey to visit an old husband and wife who wanted children very badly, but who, after many, many years, had given up hope. But then God came and promised not just to give them a baby, but to raise up a special nation from that baby, who would remember God's promises and bring the world God's promised Savior, Jesus. We will then look to Egypt, where we'll see God's people trapped in chains, as well as the special man God raised up to set His people free from slavery and bring them to their own land. We will visit a battlefield where a young Israelite was not afraid to take up a stone and a sling and fight a giant warrior who said terrible things against God and His people. We will journey far away to a den of hungry lions. There, we'll see Daniel's amazing faith, how God saved him, and how much Daniel's life was like Jesus' life. We'll look to the New Testament and see how God's plan unfolded through the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, our Savior. We will look at Jesus' baptism, which forever changed our baptism. We will investigate Jesus' life and ministry, what He taught and what He did to show us God's great love for all of us. We will look to Jesus' suffering and death on the cross, that tree of death, which He transformed into a tree of life. We will celebrate Jesus' victory over death and the new life He gives us today and for all eternity. Then we'll look forward to the day when Jesus will return, when He will make all things new, restore His creation, and raise all believers to live in His glorious presence forever. The Tree of Life runs from the beginning of the Bible to its very end, and it shows us the amazing love of our God, who always keeps every promise He ever makes. The great story of God's plan to save the world through Jesus is what the Bible is all about, and it's your story and mine. Join us for this wonderful adventure, and we will see together God's faithfulness and love through the cross of Christ, the Tree of Life, God's promise of salvation.